live. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 16. I know you must have enjoyed our little hiatus away so you could, look at other content. But now you're here for our content. You're ready to watch the Big Fish Little Fish podcast. And the world has changed a lot since the last time we did a podcast. So we're going to talk a little bit about everything. And you know what? Taylor and I have been talking, and at a certain point, what's going on? We can't talk in America anymore. We can't say what we want to say. Well, we got some things to say today. You know what? Let's start off, Taylor. Let's start off with what are your favorite topics?
Well, I completely agree that it's crazy. You take what we have a month hiatus, and this time a month ago we were in a different world. We really are in a time where every week it feels like things are changing and shifting and escalating in a lot of ways. And it does not, the one word I'd say is instability. It just feels like we have a lot of instability going on right now in the world and particularly in America. I mean, would you agree with that statement, that it just feels off right now?
I feel the world is way different than it was last month.
Yeah. And you know what it is? It almost feels like there's things that keep happening, and when they happen, you're almost upset because you're like, well, we can never go back to before this. You know what I mean? This is now part of our reality. And there are these wild things that keep happening. And then as they happen, you realize that one, they're wild, but two, it's just shifting things yet again, that the world is now in a different state where you're having to deal with these things, and you can't take them away. Once things happen like this, they happen. You can't take it away. So I know we talked about a few topics. Did you have one you wanted to start with?
Well, there have been certain groups of people protesting in the country, right? And listen, we're all about free speech on this podcast. We're all about people being able to say what they want to say. But that being said, just because you say something doesn't mean you won't get criticized. We've been criticized a good amount for some of the things that we say. There has been some comments that have been made that you're not super happy about, right? Some chants, some aggressive.
Let's do that one later, honestly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't an opener, I don't
think. That wasn't an opener?
No. Why don't we talk about the TikTok? Let's start
TikTok,
with light and easy.
I wasn't really ready to talk about TikTok just yet, but I'll talk about TikTok. So listen, the establishment wants to ban TikTok. It's out of control. What? TikTok is suddenly some evil entity, and Instagram isn't. Facebook isn't. Twitter isn't. What else is there out there? I don't even know. I don't really know. I mean, those are the big three, right?
Google.
Yeah, but I think it's really focused more towards social media platforms. Okay. But those are the big three in terms of social media: TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. And they want to take TikTok out. And the reason that they're giving this weak excuse is, this has compromised our security. It's compromising our data and our privacy. And, there could be foreign ties. It's a big security breach. And I'm personally, I hear you, but at the same time, are you not worried about Instagram? Are you not worried about Facebook? Are you not worried about, I love Twitter, but are we not worried about Twitter? No, it seems like the establishment is selecting who can and can't have businesses in America. And this is a scary road to go down, right? Because the reasons they're giving for TikTok to not be able to be a company could be applied to Facebook, Meta. The only thing that's different is that it's a foreign company that owns it. But the issues that these foreign companies, quote unquote, are coming that are coming from it, they have those same issues on Instagram, right? Mark Zuckerberg was literally just testifying in court in front of Congress about how children were exploited on Facebook. So obviously that's a big security breach. That's a big issue. And we're not talking about banning Facebook and Instagram, but we're banning TikTok. Now, I have my gripes with TikTok. I think it's honestly bad for the youth. I think it probably should be monitored more by parents. But I think that's a choice thing. I think that's freedom of choice, free market. And if we're just banning TikTok, that's not good. I've also seen that TikTok is also that TikTok ban also has legislation that could be used on other organizations because the wording is very vague, and it could be used to not just take out TikTok, but take out any types of platforms that kind of go with the agendas of society today, right? And when I say society, I really mean who's in charge. So we can be talking about an executive branch or other powerful entities going on in America, which, like, you know, conspiracy or not, the world is multipolarized, especially the United States. A lot of powers that are at B that kind of make decisions. And what we don't want to see is Congress banning something with the type of language they can use to ban other things. Mm-hmm. And I think that is one of my biggest gripes with this bill. And like, who are we to really be out here banning a social media platform because of data privacy? I think we need to worry about like the data privacy that we have with like these like CIA and FBI organizations that are already in our shit, right? They are already looking at our phones. Like, we know the governments are spying on us. We know that your phone is listening to you. You know your phone is listening to you. Like, you can talk about something you've never talked about in your life, right? You could talk about like red bananas or something crazy like that. And all of a sudden you'll start getting advertisement for red bananas. And you'll be like, I didn't even know there were red bananas.
And you know what the weird thing about that is? Every single person I know has had that experience, but we all still have to be like, our phones are listening to us. But there's like this small percentage of our brain that's like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe this is in our head. But there's no way that it's not. But we still have to, because it hasn't been confirmed, we're all like, it's almost like we're saying like, oh, our phones are listening to us, and there's like this element of it feeling like you're being crazy for saying that. But it's like, there's no way it's not. It definitely is.
Yeah. And listen, I think everybody has a feeling that, are they listening to us and recording it and keeping it in a database somewhere or in a data center somewhere?
I know I have that thought, but do you think everyone has that thought?
Everyone has that thought.
Eugene, have you had that thought? Have you ever thought that your phone is recording you and keeping the recordings of everything you're saying?
Like somebody's listening to you.
Yeah, they have to be if they're getting, like, I'll talk about something. I remember I was talking about food and it literally popped up on my Instagram feed.
Yeah.
But do you think they're keeping your private conversations at a data center somewhere?
Like, is it keeping the recordings of everything that...
use it for a certain amount of time, like to kind of put it through its algorithm and then kind of delete it.
But you don't think they warehouse it just in case they ever need to use it against you?
Nah.
That would be listen, I'm with you on that, but from a data perspective, that would be an unconscious amount of data. Like,
dude, they have a lot of data centers.
They may have a lot of data centers, but you have to mass apply that. So if we have 300 million people times 24 hours of data on each phone all day, every day, that'd be a lot of recording.
Well, you know, here's the thing with these secret organizations. People are always like, man, they'd really have to be going like far and above and beyond to do.
I just don't know if that's technologically possible. Like, I don't know if we have enough data in the world.
Centers. Hell yeah.
Do you think we have enough?
Yeah.
To keep all that data?
Yeah.
We got NASA supercomputers.
Yeah, they got quantum computers.
It's not a speed item. It's a storage component. That's why the cloud's a thing.
Like, they have to do it, package it quick. Bro, I promise you, they got it.
But for how long?
Forever.
No way.
Forever.
That's a lot.
You would, and then when they start doing, listen, I'm not.
I hope not. There. I hope not. Yeah, don't go there. I hope not. But it is something we've all thought about. And with TikTok, can I ask you a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could find out that if you found out the foreign, because you said the difference between the other ones and TikTok is it's foreign, right? And I agree with you. Like, aside from that, it's generally the same platform at face value. But if you found out that foreign entities were pushing a message via the algorithm in the app, would that change anything for you? Pushing agendas or messaging or certain types of content?
No. Not especially if we knew about it, because then it's your choice whether you're going to be doing that. Like if we have like explicit like understanding and we can disclose that to people, then it's up to the person, you know, because then people have freedom of choice to get on TikTok or not to be on it. Yeah. Like you don't have TikTok, and you've chosen purposely not to have TikTok. Yeah. And I think, and this goes into a whole different other topic, but like freedom of choice. Like at what point do we just let people decide what they do and don't want to do? You know, forcing people to make a decision is like, to me, it's unconstitutional.
Even if it was a matter of listening to foreign entities delivering messaging, you're saying we should have full access to any messaging that any foreign country wants to give to us.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's the ultimate freedom of speech perspective.
And if we have definitive proof that they are pushing agendas, then we should just disclose that. Yeah. It's okay to let it happen. And
you want full transparency. Just like Twitter.
Yeah. Community notes, right? Yeah. How's the community notes are on TikTok? Community notes are great. You know, context, other people being able to
I'm not on it. Does TikTok have any sort of... Well, I think the only thing we know is that when we had one, we had it taken down on Big Fish.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok also has its problems with censorship.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. TikTok is also a not super constitutional in the way they run things. Listen, I don't like TikTok as like this great platform. I think it's bad for the country with the type of legislation they're using to get rid of it. I don't particularly love the content that's on there. Most of it is trash. Most of it is garbage. You know, it's a pretty garbage app if you think about it. Most of it is like 1 minute stupid videos, right? Which are entertaining, but like they're like objectively not great for society. Most of the messaging in TikTok is outrageous. It's outrageous. You know, yes. I rarely find stuff on TikTok. I think they've made an option now where you can swipe to the left on part that says STEM. And the STEM is like pure, like smart TikToks. And no one ever goes on it. It's just like no one goes on STEM. Like, did you even know there was STEM?
I've never seen that.
Pulled up your TikTok.
I don't have it.
Good. I don't think listen, it's a weird one for me. I think I hear both. You're the only one on it. You're addicted. I
have TikTok, but I don't have STEM on TikTok. Like, I've never seen that on TikTok.
Okay.
Well, open your TikTok and check, is what he was saying.
Let me see.
It literally just says following shop it for you. There's no STEM section. Because I was like, no STEM section.
Interesting.
You're not their user demographic for STEM. They were like, don't even give him the option. He's not going to click it. Miguel, they're like, let's see if he looks at it. No, I hear you. And I think freedom of speech is something you need to be very careful of, because once you start taking away components of speech, it does change the dynamic. I just think that TikTok, there are such obvious problems with it that you just want to ban it, but at the same time, it's so confusing because it's like you have to allow freedom of speech. So it's like, even if you really hate something, can you forcibly take it away as an option from people? I don't know what that means. But isn't it not that they're banning it? They're just saying it has to divest.
They're saying it has to divest or they're banning it. They have to divest or they're banning. Look it up. Look up TikTok ban.
But is that a bad thing in your mind?
If they have to divest?
Yeah. Because to me, they're not saying you can't exist. They're just saying you can't exist under a foreign-owned agency. That's my understanding, and I'm not as knowledgeable as you.
And if that's the case, then what are we saying? Like, foreign companies can't do business in America? Like,
we definitely screen it.
Do we?
Yeah. I mean, foreign businesses don't have the same rights as U.S.-based businesses.
Are you sure they can buy a bunch of land?
Yeah, but that's not operating a business. You still have to comply with the U.S. rules and laws. And if you're not, I would find it very surprising if there's not a business license. Think about what we do. You need a business license to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
You're telling me that a foreign company can just come in, act in sovereignty, and not have any business license in America? But does TikTok have a business license in America? I don't know.
I assume they do, yeah.
So then what's the problem? It's the company that does it? I'm not as knowledgeable on this as you.
Yeah. So they're saying ban it, right? They're saying buy in or divest.
They got to sell it or ban it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So if they don't do one or the other.
But that's what I'm asking. Are you as upset with the ban?
I mean, I think, first of all, I think the legislation, from what I've seen online, is a lot of it is vague, and it could be used on other companies that could be deemed like harmful. But at the same time, like, I think it's just in poor taste, because I feel like if you're doing that, it's just like I think people can read between the lines and be like, it's not really because it's foreign. I would say this is probably lobbied by its competitors.
You think that's what's driving the ban?
I think a lot of it. I think there's a lot of that. A lot of it's not like it's not controlled by our polarizing people. You know what I mean? It's controlled by a different group. And it's a power move. It's a power move. I don't think it's actually for the benefit of the people. It has nothing to do with sending billions of dollars overseas. It has to do with, quote unquote, the welfare of America. I think everyone knows that's not true.
It's definitely not a top priority anymore for these people at the top.
Anything that gets passed in Congress, everyone in media is like, nobody asked for this.
Why is that right now?
It's a weird thing, right?
It's like they're getting elected in, and they're doing the complete opposite of what we want.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah. We were like, hey, can you secure the border? And they were like, TikTok ban.
It's true. They were like, they're picking random things to be focused on, and none of them are the top priorities of the people. I would say the top priorities of the people in America are like financial hardships first and foremost. If you're a real American, you're not as concerned with all these other things as you are with the fact that your lifestyle is getting drastically more difficult by the day. Every day it is harder to get by as an American, or it is less safe. You feel like you're less safe in America every day. Like, to me, those are the two biggest concerns of Americans right now, and I feel like they are the lowest on the prioritization pool of these leaders. Leaders don't care about what Americans care about. They're picking these random topics, putting so much attention to them that they become part of like the narrative that we all talk about. But if the politicians weren't funding these things or choosing to focus on these things, none of us would be focused on it. We'd be focused on what our day-to-day life is, which is it's getting worse. Yeah. It's literally getting worse every day. We all know it. Everyone in America knows it. And our leaders are focused on other stuff. What in the world is going on, Miguel?
I don't know. Yeah, why aren't they doing anything? I feel like at certain points in history, people really looked at the people in charge and in power and be like, you know what, we're making the country better, and we can see the results of what Congress is doing. Like, for example, everyone argues back and forth whether FDR had great policies. But you know what? People notice the policies that got done. People still talk about those policies. Like, oh, we got X, Y, and Z. I don't remember all of them, but I know that
the New Deal.
The New Deal. Yeah. Things that came out of the New Deal, people saw the results of that, right? We just talked about the Biden stimulus package where we spent trillions of dollars on infrastructure.
They're not going to be talking about the infrastructure bill. And how long ago was the New Deal? 70, 80 years ago?
Yeah.
And everyone today still knows about the New Deal. I can guarantee you the 2023 infrastructure bill will be long forgotten.
It'll be long
in 60
forgotten.
years. Ain't no one going to be like, oh, remember when we got so much done with the infrastructure bill of 2023? Yeah. No, they got nothing done with the bill.
Yeah.
It was passed and forgotten the day after it was passed. Just trillions of dollars. Poof!
I think Americans are happier when Congress doesn't get shit passed.
Yeah, it's cheaper. It is cheaper in America for Congress not to do anything for that than compared to what the hell they're doing right now.
Yeah.
All they're doing is spending money terribly.
Yeah. Whenever I see that they fail to pass something, I'm like, yes. Yes. Because, like, no one ever sees them pass something and everyone's like, oh, my gosh. Thank God.
Yeah.
Now things are going to
get better. They solved it. Finally. We had this problem, and Congress got together, and thank goodness, because now it's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
They funnel billions or trillions of dollars into whatever the topic is, and immediately that problem gets worse, and they're like, we need to spend more money on it. We just haven't spent enough. If we spend more, we'll solve it. But right now, we're just not spending enough. And we're all like, yo, you just spent $3 trillion. That didn't solve it?
Yeah.
The $3 trillion didn't get it done?
Yeah.
How much more you need?
Yeah. It's like when a realtor tells their client, "Hey, you should renovate the kitchen and the bathrooms," and then you come back 2 weeks later and they made a new deck, and you're like, "That's not what we talked about. That's not what's gonna help your situation." And they're like, "I need more money." and let's say they take out a loan and like you come back again and they didn't renovate the kitchens or the bathroom. They made a gazebo. They made a gazebo. They painted. They painted some sidings. They added like a brand new. They just added a bunch of shit that was unnecessary. Yeah. It's not selling.
And they didn't even do a good job adding it.
Oh no, it was terrible.
It's unstable. It needs to be repaired.
Yeah, their contractors are still supposed to come out and do the job.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I genuinely feel like there are so many things. America is so divided right now. It's the most divided I can ever remember it in my lifetime. But there are so many things we could all agree on, but we're focused on the other stuff.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about it. You know what's one thing that I think every single American can be on the same page about, but we're not? Fentanyl. Like, fentanyl is a topic that I cannot imagine in any scenario, in any world, people are okay with what's happening in the country right now with it. Every single American should be against fentanyl. It is a substance that the medical industry introduced that is super deadly. And now we have China and Mexico and our own medical industry flooding the system with it to the point where it is killing not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands of Americans a year. It's crazy. It's the most easy thing that we can all agree on. Get fentanyl out of the system. And it's getting worse. We were putting money into it, but it's getting worse. What in the world is going on? How is this allowed? If a country was on the right track, it's a great way to measure how a country's operating. We have this very simple problem, which is fentanyl is over-flooding our system. There's too much fentanyl. We all need to get on the same page as Americans and come together and say, let's find a solution for this, and let's make sure there is no fentanyl problem at all. We're not trying to decrease it. We're trying to stop it. Guess how many people died in 2000 from fentanyl? The year 2000. How many
100.
Died? How much?
100.
In 2000, 782 people died. In 2000. In 2012, that number increased to 2,628. Guess how many died in the year 2022?
10,000?
I had it here. Well, since 2018, 250,000 people have died from fentanyl. In just 6 years, 250,000 people in America have died from fentanyl. That is so beyond unacceptable that I can't even articulate it. When you have 250,000 people dying from a drug, you take that drug and you figure out how to get rid of it. It's not allowed in our country. We're not going to let it be misused or mishandled. And if we catch a foreign entity bringing that into our country, we will prosecute any person that brings it on to the full extent of the law, and then we will hold the country that is allowing their substances to flood into our system to be accountable to. If I was in charge, I'm telling you what, if I was in charge and I knew that a country was deliberately allowing fentanyl into my country, that country would have direct ramifications for that. It wouldn't go under the gun. We wouldn't have a light conversation about, hey, can you stop letting fentanyl in our country? I say, if this continues, this is a problem. It's the exact same thing as chemical warfare to me. If a country is putting something in, and I told you, hey, a country's putting this chemical in your system, it kills 250,000 people in 6 years, what would you say?
I would say we need to stop that.
Yeah. Be like, no way. No way. That is biological warfare. And then I tell you that 250,000 people in America have died from a substance that is flooding from other countries, and we haven't stopped it? Weakness. Weakness from the top, weakness from everyone in the middle, and weakness at the bottom. You stop that. You stop that on all fronts. It's not allowed. We are so against it that there's no conversation to be had about it. It started out from the medical industry, and now it's flooding the streets. I heard a story about a cop, we were talking about this, about a cop who was doing a bust, and on the bust he was so exposed to the fentanyl that he died from it. That's crazy. If a substance is that deadly, it's not allowed. You get it out. You crack down on that as hard as cracking down on any drug substance possible.
Damn. Where did they, so the drug companies made it?
Yeah, it started out in the... I was doing some research, and it was like in like the 80s or 90s they started putting it into actual drugs. So it was in things like a lot of those like Oxycontin and all of those types of ones. And then after that, it has then been identified as this substance that was originally in like those types of drugs where it's like the Oxycontin and the painkillers and all of that. And then from that, then people have started taking fentanyl and putting it in stuff like cocaine, meth, heroin, and all that. So now it's this super unsafe, unhealthy thing that you really shouldn't be getting much in your system at all, even when it was in the pills. But now it's getting just like packed into these drugs that is completely uncontrolled. And when you have heroin, they're not doing quality checks on heroin. They're not doing quality checks on meth. So these drug manufacturers are putting it in there and getting people high out of their brains, and they're killing them, and it's overdosing people. And like, no one wants to talk about it, but if you see videos of people on fentanyl, it is one of the saddest things to have to watch. These people are out of control. They can't control themselves anymore, and they're on a drug in the first place, but now they're on this potent, deadly drug that's going to kill them. It has to stop. It is unmerciful to our citizens to allow that to be in our system. You are allowing a substance that is literally killing people and is addicting them to this thing that's killing them, and you're not taking it out of the system. That, to me, is irresponsibility by the government. It's them prioritizing things that Americans don't care about right now, which is what they're good at, when there is something as simple as and universally accepted as get the fentanyl out of our system, and it's maybe an in-passing conversation by Congress. It should be at the forefront of their doors. Hey, let's get together, figure out something that we're not disagreeing on, not trying to sneak into other bills, not using as leverage against other people, and let's all come together and say we got to stop fentanyl. That's simple. It's so simple, and they're not doing it. It's just another example of how corrupt they are, is that they're out here focusing on stuff while people are literally, it's funny. I actually heard this on the Joe Rogan interview, and it was the day when I took you to the bus stop. We went to Union Station, just like they talked about on that interview. I drove from Union Station, and I saw the Capitol, and there were people I would guarantee you are dying on fentanyl feet from the hill of the Capitol. And I'm not the first one to have the thought. I'm not claiming it as my own, but that is just reflective of what our society is today. That these politicians are literally driving by and stepping over people who are dying on fentanyl and drugs and addicted and homeless, and they're voting for paying hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars on other matters. They don't care about Americans, and it's proven by their daily commute.
Yeah. They're driving right by those people, and that's a deep thought. Yeah.
Do you know how sick you have to be to drive by a person that's in need like that and then go vote on something that's supposed to be a representative America and then spend trillions of dollars on something that will not help any of the people that are hurting, not in the country, on the street you're on, literally hundreds of steps from you. These people are suffering from a problem, and you can't find a solution for that when we've trusted you to run this country?
Yeah. Nah, they'd rather vote on things that kill people in other countries.
Yeah. Or just gerrymander each other all day long. They're just... I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, we need a new set of politicians.
Get these bums out of here, man. I'm so done. I'm so done with the people. It's like a charade, bro. It's like these people get up in front of the camera, and it's like... No one trusts them. Yeah. No one looks at them and be like, that's a good person. What happened to the good people that wanted to do it? It's become such a cesspool in there. It's become so gross to work on the Hill that only the worst types of people are willing to do it. Yeah. And then those types of people are the last people that should be it. The type of person who's willing to go and do those things right now is the last type of person we all want to go to do that thing right now.
Yeah.
They're terrible human beings.
They're awful.
So that's my rant on that.
Yeah. No, those people are awful. They suck. You know, we need a fresh group of them. You know, they got that new guy now. What's his name? Speaker Johnson. He just replaced McCarthy, and already everyone's like, get him out. That motherfucker hasn't been in there for more than 6 months, and people are like, get him out. You know what's funny? That's how Americans have become at this point. Americans are so sick of politicians that 6 months to a year into anyone's time in office, and people are just like, get them out of here. You know what's funny? You know how how we've been talking about, wow, the country has never been more divided. It's the first time ever everyone's on the same page. Yeah. Joe Biden sucks. Everyone's on the same page. You know, conservatives, liberals, Republicans, Democrats. You know, even Democrats. Like, if they're being real, they know. Like, no one is happy with what's going on. Like, every normal person who doesn't make $500,000 or more looks at the Costco budgets and are like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where did my money go? You know, and that's the thing. I know we already did tax talk, but you know what? People are paying higher taxes without realizing it, and it's inflation. But you know what? Here's the inception within the inception, all right? So inflation is the invisible tax. But you know what else is an invisible tax within an invisible tax? The higher taxes you have to pay because of inflation, right? Because before, when you bought a $1 hot dog and your sales tax was like, what, 8 cents? Well, now that $1 hot dog is $3. Guess what? You're paying 20-something cents.
24 cents.
Okay? Multiply that by anything, right? Before, when you bought a used Toyota and it was like $11K and you had to pay the car tax and all that. Well, now that car's worth $18. But guess what? It's worse than when you bought it. You know? So that's, yes. No, we're actually paying higher taxes.
Yeah, they just didn't raise the taxes.
Yeah,
they didn't raise the cost.
They didn't raise. They're so fucking smart. They're so smart. They figured this out. They're like, what we do, we tell the poor and the middle class, we're not raising the taxes. We're going to raise the rate of everything. So we'll still get a higher taxed amount. It's about increasing revenue. Dude, you know all those stupid people that were like, oh, the IRS is doubling in size, and some idiots who listen to mainstream media were like, no, the IRS needs to double in size. They're like, if they had a bigger IRS, it wouldn't take them so long to take our money and take our taxes and do this and the third. No. Terrible idea. Now, the IRS website still sucks. The IRS still does a terrible job of reviewing our taxes. And now they want to do triple the amount of audits they've ever done. That's what people were saying when they doubled the size of the IRS. They're like, dumb. Like, they're not going to be more efficient. They're going to be more annoying.
Yeah.
They're just going to be auditing more shit.
They're going to do more of the activities they do terribly, just at a higher scale.
Yeah.
They've just become a bigger terrible organization.
Yeah, much bigger, much more terrible, and one could say, in some degree, like for some Americans, a greater percentage of Americans, now their tax expenses are going to go up when they're getting audited, and they need to get their accountant to figure things out for them, or a tax lawyer. Oh my gosh, bro! Eugene, look that up. IRS increasing audits 2024.
They have what, 200,000 more employees?
They doubled their size of the IRS. It doubled. I remember when that was happening. I had like idiots who watch CNN and be like, no, they're going to be way smarter now. This is going to be easier for people to do their taxes. And I'm like, you cadoidal head. You believe anything they tell you, huh? Oh my gosh. Like, it's the same type of person to be like, inflation's because of Ukraine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
You're the person who believes that inflation's because of Ukraine. Okay. Yeah. I wonder if anyone's still buying into that.
Yeah, it's a good point. That was
for that whole year.
Yeah,
the whole year.
The whole rhetoric was they wouldn't be happening if it wasn't.
Listen, the taxes went up. No, the inflation went up 10%, and they're like, "This is Putin's fault." Like, this is Putin's fault. And the next year, they were like, "This is still Putin's fault." It's been 3 years.
How are they gonna blame him for that?
That's why.
That is some of the things they come up with, and they tell us you have to give them props because like they were like, yo, if we say this, they'll believe it.
Yeah.
And everyone in the room like, they're not gonna believe that, and they're like, watch, and they go up and they say it, and then we all believe it, or most people believe it, and it's just like, see, you just tell them anything. Like, come on now, this inflation, and you know the messed up part. Most people don't understand inflation enough to understand what they're doing to us. They're robbing us. Inflation is the robbery of the people. And they're robbing us. Yeah. You might as well stick us up with, a ski mask on, because that's what they're doing to us with inflation. It would be better, because then you at least could file a claim and say, hey, I was robbed. But now they're like, who are you going to say, hey, I was robbed from? The government?
Yeah. Because not just are the people robbed, but guess what? Small businesses are robbed. Oh, my gosh, man. Small businesses are having huge problems paying their commercial rent. And hey, you know who else is hurting? Commercial real estate. Listen, inflation is killing everybody at the bottom. You know who inflation's helping? The government. The government. Not trying to be on some conspiracy stuff today, but why is it the only person who really benefits from inflation is the government? Ask yourself that. Literally, no other person benefits. You can't name one person that benefits from inflation that's not the government. And some of you doidle heads at home might be like, how was the government benefiting? Dummy, because they get more tax revenue. And guess what? Unlike us, when the government doesn't pay their bills, they just keep running. They're in $30 trillion of debt with no debt ceiling. There's no such thing as a debt ceiling for these people. They broke it a long time ago, and they're just raising the roof. Okay? They're talking about creating a debt ceiling, but like the contractors are supposed to build it don't exist because that shit is way too high in the sky. They know. Listen, the whole country is run on bullshit right now. None of it's working. Everything is a facade. Everything is a churn right now. $30 trillion in debt. Bro, you can't print that much money if you put all the countries combined. You probably could, but that's how crazy this is.
It's La La Land. We're in La La Land right now. It's not real. This is just, you look around, and you can't look around right now and not be like, what is going on? Like, yeah, it's, in a very sad way, it's not the America I know and recognize. Like, I remember growing up in a very different America than the America we're in today. And in so many ways, I don't think it's for the better. I think that on a serious note, these people at the top have become so corrupt and have allowed for so much disintegration in our society that you look around today and things that would have been unimaginable. Like literally, if someone had told you, hey, this is going to happen or that's going to happen, you would have said, not in a trillion years, and they're all happening. There are so many things happening in America right now that I look at, and I'm saying, no way. No way this is real right now. No way this is the topic of today. No way that we're allowing these things to happen. And they are. And some of them are not only happening, but they're being encouraged. And we talked about this. But to me, like when you look around, and this isn't based on any particular topic, but it's based on the concept. When you're telling me that I can see something where there's a situation where a group is being empowered to say death to America. Death to America is being said in our country right now, and that's being deemed as okay or celebrated. I'm sorry, not okay. I grew up in a time where we said every day before we went to school the Pledge of Allegiance. And we said, one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. One nation, a single country, under God, under a centralized moral authority, indivisible, a country that can't be divided when it seems like nothing other than division is happening, with liberty and justice for all. That's what it stands for. To me, that's what America stands for. And you're saying death to that? Now, don't get me wrong. We just got done ranting about all the things wrong with this country. But what I can't accept is someone saying death to the country that stands for those principles. Because I guarantee you there's not another country in this world that stands for what America stands for. And when we forget these things and then we allow people to start in our country saying death to America, it's not something I will ever support. You have the right to say the words, but you don't have the right to have them accepted in society. It's just not something any of us can tolerate or accept. Can you say it? Sure. But are you allowed to say it? You're wrong. You're wrong. I'll tell you that. It's wrong to say death to America in America. It's wrong when our enemies say it, but that's an enemy. When an American is saying death to America, you've lost your sight on the cause. Whatever cause is making you say that, you've lost your sight on America. It's not what America is, and it's not what it stands for. And when it's being allowed to happen in the way it is, you know your country's gone astray. And it's just something I will never, ever, 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 ever accept. And it's the leadership from the top. And it's the top down. And if their leadership's not going to do it, guess what? People need to come as a collective and say, in no place in America do we tolerate you saying death to America. It's not okay, and I'll never allow it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very bad to say. Death to America. Awful thing to say. Wouldn't say it. What I would say is I love America. I was born an American. Will always be an American. I'm very pro-America. So I feel that, brother. I feel that.
And we complain all the time.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't disagree with America. You're allowed to disagree. But what you can't stand for is the downfall of it. Right. I will die fighting to make this country better, but what I won't do is allow for people to say down with the country I live in. I stand for America.
Yeah. And America's a great country. You don't see droves of hundreds of thousands of people leaving America because they can't follow their, pursuit of happiness, right? Or their liberty to start a business or make a living. Like, a lot of people are coming to America and then be like, man, it's hard here. Yeah, like we've talked about a bunch of times. The American dream's a little harder than it used to be, in certain ways, and not everybody is, like, America might not be what you think it is when you come to America. That doesn't mean you have to destroy it. That doesn't mean you have to be like death to America, and that's one good thing. Like, if you want to come to America, there's a pathway in it. It's not perfect. But if you want to leave America, that's fine too. No one's going to stop you from leaving.
Let me just say this. I think that if the day ever does come that America has their downfall, it's a very sad day. America is a country that has inspired so many around the world for what it stood for. It was this idea that came about where you could create a country that was standing for equality and justice and rule of law and a people-run government. And you could work hard and you can have the betterment of yourself and future generations if you did it. That's to me what America stands for. And if you're telling me that that idea proves to be unsuccessful, it can't work, well, that's a sad day not only for America but for the world. The world is worse off if that idea, that concept, that goal that was created doesn't end up actually working. What else is there? If this doesn't work, if America doesn't work, what do you do? What do you try? What do you want to aspire to as a country? This was the best case we had. And it was never perfect, and it had its problems, and it definitely still has more problems than ever. But if America doesn't work, the world has darker days ahead.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't want to see the world without America, because where do you go after that? China? Russia? I think if America's over, Canada's over. To be honest, I think a lot of countries in the Western Hemisphere aren't doing super well. America is a strong point for the Western Hemisphere. So,
and it's the most unique idea there's ever been.
Yeah,
a government and a people, by the people, for the people. Like, otherwise you have other systems, and we've seen how those other systems have gone. And then America said, let's try this crazy thing. By the people, for the people. We're in charge of ourselves. But you know what? There's a level of responsibility that comes with that as well. And I got to say, our leaders, but equally our citizens. The American citizen isn't upholding their part of the deal right now. You want to be a government by the people, for the people? You got to be a good citizen, and you got to be involved in making sure that we're holding our government accountable. And we're not doing that anymore. And you're seeing the ramifications of it. The world is going out of control right now for the worse because we are having individuals at the top that are out of control and a population of Americans that won't hold them accountable for it. And that's just, something's going to break one way or the other. And I hope that it's the people starting to put some more accountability back in and we can get back to the government being guided by American principles, because right now they're not. And there's no way around it. And it doesn't work, and it's not going to work, and it has to change. We need a course correction back to how things are run the right way, based on principles and morality and a society helping each other. And that is, when I look around, I see none of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, me either. I don't have much to add.
I don't have anything to add.
And
let's lighten it up.
Let's lighten it up.
Let's finish on a light talk. Wow, that got heavy. My bad, guys. It's just frustrating sometimes. I'm not going to lie. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Political, no, this is not political.
Just great thinkers.
Okay.
I said great thinkers. Great minds.
We're going to do a draft of great thinkers, great minds. Anybody in that vein, top 5, because our last top 5 was such a hit.
So summarize it. What are we doing?
We're going to do a fantasy style draft. What are we doing? Serpent style? Snake style?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But intro it.
Yeah. So great minds, great thinkers. Last time I think I had the first pick, so I'll give you the first pick this time.
Okay. First pick in the fantasy draft of great thinkers, I'm going to go Leonardo da Vinci.
Wow.
I think that he's someone who was one of the best inventors ever. And when I think of a great mind, I think an inventor is someone who's able to create an idea and turn it into reality. And so many of Da Vinci's inventions and his mind guided the world that to me, he was just one of the most creative and successful thinkers of all time. You're up.
I'm going to go Socrates.
Here's my number 2.
Socrates, great thinker. They killed him for being so smart. They killed him for deep thought. I'm not going to go into a monologue on Socrates. You can do your own research, but great thinker.
You have the next pick as well, sir.
Yep. Karl Marx. He created a system so good that it destroyed a bunch of countries, and you have to be really special for that. Listen. I'm saying great thinker in the sense of like they did something like something that's almost unthinkable. I'm not saying it was for the good of the world. I'm just saying it's quite amazing. He created something, an idea that was so potent that people around the world were like, this has to work. And it has literally destroyed countries. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Karl Marx. That was incredible, Carl. Good job.
Wow. That is curveball of the draft. All right, with my second pick, I'm going to go Marcus Aurelius. I think he was a leader, and he wrote Meditations. And if you read Meditations, I think that he understood so much about dynamics and relationships, and from his position of power was able to implement them in a lot of ways. He both was a great thinker and a great implementer of his thought, which I think makes you that much better of a thinker. So Marcus Aurelius, number 2.
You have the next one?
Oh, number 3. I'm going to go Solomon from the Bible. He was known as one of the greatest kings, but at the same time, he wrote Proverbs. And if you read Proverbs, that book alone is the guiding light on how you could run your life. If you followed what is included in Proverbs, you're a great human. And when they talk about his knowledge and his ability to create a kingdom that was run well as a kingdom that was led wisely, as well as a good man and all of that, Solomon seems like he was one of the greatest minds of all time.
Okay, so if you're allowed to do Bible, can I do Jesus?
Sure.
I'll do Jesus. He knew everything.
Maybe he should have been at the top.
Should have been at the top. I didn't know we could use biblical people.
You can use anyone.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going Jesus. He knew everything.
Both of them are real people.
He walked on water. He he died for the sins of everyone on earth. I'll go Jesus.
Good mind.
Jesus. Yeah. Okay. I think it's my turn.
Yeah, you're up next.
I get the second one. So Karl Marx is opposite. I'm going to go Milton Friedman. He really studied the free market, why it's important to slow down with limited government. And he's just he's the yang to the yin of Karl Marx. And I think, these great thinkers really provided a lot of feedback for, current standards in the world.
Okay. With my 4th pick, I'm going to go Adam Smith. And if you don't know who that is, he wrote The Wealth of Nations. And if you haven't read that book, then I don't think you should be able to comment on fiscal policy. Because to me, it is the best guiding book in terms of how economies work and how money works. And if you don't have an understanding of what Adam Smith was able to summarize, you are not qualified to make financial decisions for nations or large institutions. So he's my number 4. And with my final pick in the Great Minds draft, I'm going Ludwig van Beethoven. And I chose Beethoven because the type of mind you have to be able to create his symphonies purely from his brain and create the music he made, to me, it is such a great mind you have to have that I am in awe of it, because I couldn't even come close to even trying what he did, and he did it in such a beautiful way that Beethoven, to me, is my 5th greatest mind of all time.
Awesome. Last one, I'm going Sun Tzu, Art of War. Military minds, I need to get a military mind in there, because ultimately, all these things are great, but there's a beauty to warfare, even as morbid as that sounds, right? There are great military minds. Wanted to acknowledge one.
Agree. So you want to do your summary of your top 5?
Yeah. Number 1, Karl Marx. Wait, no. Number 1, Socrates. Number 2, Karl Marx. Number 3, Jesus Christ. Number 4, Milton Friedman. Number 5, Socrates.
It's a good lineup. All right. My number 1, Leonardo da Vinci. My number 2, Marcus Aurelius. My number 3, Solomon from the Bible. My number 4, Adam Smith. And my number 5, Beethoven. Let us know who has the better top 5 greatest minds of all time.
Greatest minds, greatest thinkers. Yeah, greatest minds. That's fine.
I don't know how you want to use the word to summarize it, but I would say that. So, well, this was an interesting episode. After a break, I think we came in swinging on a few things, and we came in emotional on a few things. Like,
yeah,
that was a wild one.
It got deep.
It got a little deep. Sorry about that one, guys. But all right, man. Anything else you had to say?
No, I think that's it.
All right, we're out.
All right, brother.